In today's world, communication comes from every direction, whether that's emails, chats, social media. It can feel overwhelming trying to stay on top of it all. In this episode of The Workplace Shift, we focus on how you filter out what really matters. Welcome everybody! In today's episode, we're looking at message overload. You certainly know the scenario. You get tons of mails every day. You have your team's channels that are bombarding you with messages, direct messages from teammates. Then there are spaces or whatever there are where you have different team members communicating at the same time together. You have other accounts where you have messages. You get calls. So how do you find out in all of the noise that is there, what are the important messages? How do you stay on top of that? How do you have the feeling at the end of the day that you have the gist of what really matters and nothing is burning? So this is what we're talking about. And I have with me Stefan.
Hi, Karen.
Partner. Glad to have you here.
Thank you so much.
I know that this topic is close to your heart.
It is.
Tell us more.
I think you already mentioned that we have a lot of communication channels and a lot of input is coming our way. The picture I have in mind is that we have this wave of communication. We're in the ocean of a lot of information flow, and what we want to do is we want to build a platform where we can stand on the platform and we can see what is going on around us. A little bit like a captain in a boathouse, looking around and seeing, okay, my boat is getting there. There's kind of an obstacle in the way, right? And I feel it's important to, with your team, to talk about what is the communication channels and how do we control them. And I'm thinking about an agile team, for example. It can be a large-scale agile team, a product team, but also project management teams, or whenever you have an endeavor, you need to create this kind of communication channels and a clarity around it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're talking about bringing into the open what will happen anyway.
Yes.
That people try to find a way to communicate and to send messages.
Yeah.
And you say, hey, stop a minute. Let's talk about how we do this properly.
Yeah.
So we're clear, we all use the same paths, the same ways to communicate with each other, so that we ensure that we elevate the percentage of the message that reaches the receiver.
Exactly. And I give you a very, very concrete example. I mean, since a couple of years, we have Microsoft Teams now. You have the opportunity to have direct messages, group chats, channel messages. Sometimes you get an email from Microsoft Teams that something happened, right? So you need to ask your team, where can you reach me when there's something urgent or something important? And also, where do you want to store the information so you can find it later on as well? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how do you do that?
So what I'm usually doing is I'm sitting together with the team and we have a look at what is our current work. For example, we work on a product, we work on creating training material, etc. pp. And what is the standard communication channels we have in the company? Usually we have email, it's always there, right? We have a chat client, as you say, we have Google Chat, Microsoft, etc. pp. We have our phones who can be called, an SMS can be sent, etc. pp. We have WhatsApp. Some clients in the UAE, for example, they love to use WhatsApp and they reach you around the clock on WhatsApp. So it's important to say, how do we address these channels?
So what I hear is that it's quite different. There are a variety of tools, a variety of setups, and that it depends on what you have in your environment.
Yes.
What you pick then from. That's
exactly.
So it's not a one-fits-all solution that we're talking about.
No, you need to scan it as well. For example, if you have, we're now working with Monday.com, some people work with Jira, you have Google Docs or Word, and as we discussed before, right, you have Word comments, etc. pp. And even a Word comment can open a communication channel to you as a person. Like, hey, can you review my document? And can you give me feedback on this? And I guess it's very important that you talk about these kind of scenarios with your team so they know, okay, when I need something from you, where's the first channel? For example, for me, it's write me a quick text on the chat. Don't call me. Please use the chat window.
Yeah. So I remember that my previous boss, his primary form of communication was really calls.
Yes.
So you called each other like on a daily basis just to quickly catch up and then you weren't sure that if you sent him a mail that he would read it, because that was not his form of communication.
Yep.
So basically you have to manage to get the gist of, okay, the people that I want to reach,
Yep.
what is their form of preferred communication?
Yes. Yeah.
So for you, I know that, I wouldn't call you, because I would only if it's an emergency, because you stated that clearly, and I know that you hate calls.
Yeah.
So basically, better send him a quick message, and I know that you will read it in time and you will respond and come to that.
Yes. We don't even talk about voice messages, which I don't like as well.
Oh jeez, don't start, get me started with voice messages.
The voice messages, right? But as you said, it's an individual, so you will talk to each of your peers maybe and say, how do you want to be informed? And the most critical examples I had in the past few weeks was a client. She was like, yeah, put me on all the meeting invites so I know what's going on. I was like, okay, I can do this if that's fine for you, and if that's your form of communication, I can certainly do this. What I usually do is I would send you a short abstract of what was happening in the meeting to you. I think it's also my responsibility to make a very clear communication to management, to my peers, and to my team as well.
In my feeling, that also comes down to trust and delegation. Because if I, as a team lead, want to reduce the number of messages that I get, the biggest lever that I have is, how do I communicate with my team? And if I trust my team members more and I entrust them with more responsibility, then I don't want to be informed about all the details.
Yes.
I want to be informed if something is about to go up on fire, or if something is really burning.
Yep.
Or I want to get regular status updates, but I don't want to be in the details anymore. And that's a good way of decreasing the number of messages that I get.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest lever that you can have as a team lead.
Yes. I mean, trust always plays a role, and it also helps to, as I said, to make kind of this list of communication channels. We can maybe link this as part of the podcast description, right? We have this charter available where teams can work through, and we usually use that in workshops as well. And I agree, it's a trust thing, and it's kind of a service to my management, for example, to say, hey, I talked to some of your peers, here's a 2-sentence abstract of what we talked about, so the next time they meet each other, they have a sense that they have been informed, right? So for me, it's kind of a gift. If someone comes to me and say, hey, I talked to some of your peers around this and this topic, here's a quick summary, and the next time I can open a conversation, I'm already in the picture. Mm-hmm. It really helps me, to be honest, yeah.
What comes to my mind now is this, if I go on vacation, I certainly don't want to check my mails, and I'm not checking my mails and anything, because I want to be on vacation, get my mind off, and to enjoy the scenery and everything else, apart from work. In the first few days, I always struggled with this feeling of, I might miss out on something. I might miss something critical. And it takes a few days for me to completely shut down from work topics in my mind. And then when I come back from work, what I experience that it's so hard to come back into everything, to get back into the routine. And what I found really helpful, and what I try to do for my clients, is to send them a mail which they receive the day that they return. So it's on top of their inbox, and it reads, read first after vacation.
The read first mail, yeah.
And it gives a short summary of what happened in between. What do you need to take care of? What do you need to know to just pick off from where you left, and basically from what the team did in the meantime, and just get going from there. Yeah. And I found, for me as well, this is so helpful. That really helps me to come back relaxed and stay relaxed after vacation.
And you did this as a service for your team, but even when you are a team lead, you can do this. So what I've done in the past is I created an empty Google Doc or Word doc, I don't remember, document, and said to the team, whenever there's something important, add a line to this document rather than put me on CC. So when I came back, I had these kind of bullet points. It was an agile development team, it was a big team, and had the bullet points, was super nice to consume, and I didn't even read the emails which were in my inbox. And that really helped as well. You have also an opportunity to do this in Microsoft Teams, for example. Yeah, there's various opportunities how you can do it.
That's a good idea. Yeah, with this rolling document.
Rolling document, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned emails and being on CC.
Yeah, my favorite topic.
Yeah, so what I experience is this varies a lot from one company to the next. So some of them copy everyone in CC.
Yes.
And the broader the group, the better it is. And others use it very sparsely. What's your opinion on that?
Always the question, why would you put someone on CC? And I always encourage my team members and everyone I work with to ask yourself, why would you put them on CC? For example, if it's an escalation, I want to escalate something, I would maybe put this on CC. But if I have an email thread where I got a task assigned from my boss or from my manager or another person, I would usually say, I will take care of this task. I will put you off CC, and once I have results or intermediate steps, I will put you back on. It's kind of my understanding, and I wish the same for me. And it's about trust, as you say. I trust this person that they will do this. I also observe sometimes it's insecurity from team members where they say, oh, I don't know if I did the right choice here. I want to back up from my boss. But I guess the right form of this, I read this once, is use the CC email, put this into forward to your boss and ask him and say, this is what my understanding of the situation is. Here's my email formulated. Do you agree?
Yeah, and you better do it before you send the mail.
Better do it before you send the mail. Well, timing is a thing here, right? But yeah, so CC is really for you information. It's not, and it's also, I feel it's very, very bad to expect someone to read every CC mail in detail.
Yeah.
So for me, it's okay, I will look through it, but I will always ask myself, why is this for me?
Yeah.
Like, why did you send it to me? And you can say it's a reference for your information. Okay, fine. If you need someone for a legal purpose, you need to have it in your inbox. Okay, I can understand that. But yeah, I think CCs shouldn't be used so
let's
much.
be clear.
Yes.
You put everyone into the toolbox who should read it and who has a task and a say in the matter that you're messaging about.
Yes.
CC you use for people that should be informed.
Yes.
And what I love is BCC. And I use it to put people out of this whole chain of mails.
Yes.
So if as it does, the people on CC accumulate over time, and you have people in there that are not adding value to the conversation anymore and that don't want to be informed anymore, just publicly say it on the next mail, hey, I'm going to put you to BCC so you are not on the next wave of replies to this thread. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I did the same in the past, and I even had a kind of an agreement with the team that we only had, like when there was a group of 20 people and you had the mail you mentioned, you would put a minus and then you put the name Karen, Stefan, etc. and put it on top of the mail, and then you would put them out into BCC, and they would not be like...
They would fade out of the chain.
They would fade out, and honestly, if someone really wanted to get in, they would say, oh no, please keep me in the loop. Yeah. And it's also a cultural thing, as I told you, like in the UAE or somewhere, they want to be informed, they want to read this, and it's, as you said, it's individual, you have to agree. And it's exactly like this. How do we want to cope with CC in our team? How do we want to cope with our management? How do you want to be informed, etc.? Yeah. Good.
So much for emails. What do we do with direct messages?
I think they're a very temporary nature. Like they're informal. So I always had this quadrant when I did project communication. What is formal communication and what is informal communication? And chat was always in the informal column, one of the informal quadrants. And I'm using it to get a quick info, quick feedback. But if there's something I want for reference, I would like send this to my mailbox, for example, in Google Chat, etc. pp. Right? Need to be concise, need to be clean. Some of the customers even clear them out after a couple of days. So it's nothing for the long term. It's just to get really some communication flowing very quickly.
Do you think that everyone uses chat? Can you reach over chat people if you have something urgent, something quick?
In my experience, I managed so far, yes. If it's very, very important, I would send another email. But it's also about limitations of the system. For example, Microsoft Teams, if you send a direct chat message, sometimes the files will stay forever, something like this, which is you don't want that. So you have to also choose which long-term storage I want for that stuff. Yeah.
How do group chats come into the picture?
So what I love, for example, about tools like Slack is they have these hashtags and they group team members into topics. So you have a team, for example, about marketing, they have a marketing chat or marketing group chat. I think about it almost like it's a temporary group according to the work people are doing, work package, etc. pp. So this is also part of the communication design. In the next 3 to 4 to 6 months, what are we doing? What are we working on? Do we have a service we want to work on? Do we have a product we want to work on? And then I would keep this into a group or a channel or whatever in a space, Google space, and say, this is this topic. Because after this topic finished, it can be as a reference. You know, I'm always thinking about these communication channels and group chats as a form of storing the reference together. To make it clear for a technical team. If you have product development, you would maybe have a testing chat for staging environment, and you have a production chat for all the up and downstream, like, oh, I want to start the environment, I want to stop the environment. What this makes is, as a manager, you can say, oh, we had a problem with products, with an environment, I will go into this channel. So I think there's limitations. Some customers only have, for example, group chats possible, but you have to name them. It's almost like if you would go into a group and say, oh, we work on this topic together, that's the topic. So we have, we have a title, so to speak. I don't know if I make sense on this topic, yeah.
What just comes to my mind is that for these group chats, I think it's helpful if you have one person that is like the manager of the space and who stays on top of all the messages.
Yeah.
And kind of grooms it a bit. So
if you have the luxury, yes.
To the top. I think that happens informally anyway. You oftentimes expect it from some team member without actually talking about it. But I think it's helpful if at one point you say, hey, could you manage the space a bit?
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you could bring it up, yeah. How do you use threads, meaning reply to a question is also something you can talk about. So someone has a question, and then instead of putting it into the main channel, you use a reply, so it's grouped together by the tool automatically, right? Yeah. And with this, you get a history, a log of everything. So what I'm saying is, try to think, if in 5 years' time you want to find the information, how would you group it now? So for these projects or investment, etc., pp, if you have a leadership team, you have you have maybe in the leadership team even 5 strategic pillars to work on. You can create 5 strategic groups. And then you can always see what was the conversation. And I think this is the downside of email. You have to create an email, you have to add people all the time, you have to give a title, right? But I always, when I do a big setup, an acquisition or something, I think really about where do I need to say, where are my guardrails? Okay, now I stop, because otherwise I rant on this topic.
What comes to my mind is, how did people do this 15, 20 years ago? And I remembered, we used to have secretaries, right? We used to have someone there who was the gatekeeper to my time, who was the gatekeeper to my attention, and who cleaned up before I've seen all the messages, who made sure that not every call reaches me, only the important ones, who responded to the letters that I got and stuff like that. And that fell away, and now it's more responsibility on our ends. And my hope is that we will have AI soon taking over or taking back some of that and this load from our shoulders.
Certainly.
And I think we see this already happening with, for example, Google Spaces, where you have automatic summaries of what happened in the chat since you last visited. And I really like this. It's really helpful to get the gist, and then you can decide, okay, what do you then go down and read more on?
Absolutely.
My hope is really big for AI to go even further then, and don't stay within one channel, but hopefully that you can somehow have all of the channels in one place and some AI helping you out, like the secretary did a couple of years back.
I mean, I don't want to go in the rabbit hole of AI now, but you will definitely have this AI agents crawling through all the data sources, and you see this already in Copilot with Microsoft, that whenever you have an action somewhere assigned, you get like a dashboard with all your actions, and you don't even have to keep up with everything. But even this, like, think about the activity stream in Teams, you have to kind of adjust it a little bit, because when it's default, you get all the messages, everything, they remind you, yeah. So even here you can have you can be your own secretary and fine tune it, right?
Yeah, I think you have to, yeah.
Right. And when you said, how was it previously, I was thinking about like before, even in the medieval age, how was it before? Like how was it when the kings and queens get together, right?
Well, my hope would be that they would have not so many messages.
Yeah, maybe.
There wouldn't be so much message overflow, because you wrote a letter, then some person took the letter, transported it on horseback to the receiver. The receiver wrote back. It's not like today where you receive an email in the blink of an eye and you have to respond, because
the frequency, yeah.
The expectation is, by tomorrow latest, I will have a reply to my email.
I love your horseback imitation, by the way. It was very nice.
I'm a very graphical thinker.
No, but also like they were coming together on the topic. So even on the fireplace, I don't know in the medieval age, but there was a topic, we had to fix something. They were coming together, they were fixing this, and then they were spreading apart again, right? So and
congresses.
Congresses or congregates, yeah. Congregations, yeah. But the king would also receive a lot of messages, and maybe he has like the people. Anyway, what I'm thinking is there's a natural flow, there's a natural organization in each topic, and this is where we should also design our communication systems around. And as you said, it's very individual, but it's worth taking a stab at blocking some time in your calendar and talk about this with your teams.
Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, it just takes away your time. Because it happens anyway, and you need to create the structure to make it more efficient.
Exactly.
So much so good, or do you have something else burning in the back of your mind that you want to share?
No, thank you. I think I could talk about this for hours, but I just want to say also we will link in the podcast description our starter for the communication channels. Listeners can have a go, use this to work with their teams, to have this discussion. I learned a lot again. I like this idea of having this facilitator in the communication spaces somehow. That makes sense, yeah.
All right. So thank you, Stefan.
Thank you, Karen.
Let's cut it off here. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you.
And watch out for the next episode. That's the end of our episode. If you liked this, please like, share and subscribe.